from Montech known as the XR Wood. Very large tempered glass, and it has a very clean cutout. It will catch lots of air into the case. There are sufficient space for you to work with all your PC components in this case. And this is the push-pull configuration of the important tip. Some of you might know, some of you might not know. That's the reason why it reduces noise. It's very vibrant. See, it's very nice. Tons of air going in. Which case color would you prefer? Do you prefer the black or the white? Hi everyone, today I am honored to present you a brand new case coming from Montech known as the XR Wood. And it comes in two variants, which is in black and in white. For today's illustration, I will be showing you using the white case. With this said, I'd like to thank Montech to provide both cases for me to share with you. Starting from the side, you'll be provided with a very large tempered glass. In fact, it fills the whole area. There are no ventilator holes at the bottom. And this is see-through. You can see all the components inside the case. For the measurement, the depth is at 461mm, the height is at 456mm, and the gap is at 20mm. Now, to remove off the tempered glass is pretty straightforward. All is needed, place one hand right on this lever over here, the other hand supporting the glass, pull. Okay, when you pull right, do not leave this tempered glass, see it will fall. Make sure you support it and leave it up. And to place it back, there are 3 notches at the bottom. Follow the holes at the bottom where you have 3. Align it and you put it back. Okay, now I'm just going to remove this. At the front, the width is at 230mm, and it has a very clean cutout at the front. All these are ventilated with a diagonal pattern, nicely done. And the top and the bottom right, where you can see these 2 plates, these are of American walnut, and it has this other logo, Montech. To remove off the front bezel, place your finger at the bottom where you can feel there's a hole below, pull. See, this is done. And you will expose the whole front bezel. Once you remove this right, you will see 3 fans over here, which is pre-installed in this case. And these are the GF ARGB 120mm fans. Nice cutout to route your fan cables. Nicely done. Now, as you know that this has very big holes, so it will catch lots of air into the case, as in like intake, and to provide tons of air in the case for your components. But you may be wondering, hey Cleo, since there are tons of air right going in right, what about the dust? Well, Montech did thought about this, and they have provided this, which is included in the case. It's a dust filter where this side right is magnetic. So what you need to do is to place this whole thing, be it this orientation or that orientation is the same. So just insert this, having the magnetic facing towards the cover at the back. So this will just magnet in place. Now, as for the side over here, a whole metal piece that has a ventilator hole on my left, a rectangular shape where you have big circular holes. This is good if you want to push air, warm air out, or to draw cool air in. Nice thought. And to remove this whole metal panel right, remove the thumb screw at the top and at the bottom. So once you've done this right, make sure you support the panel properly, right? Then pull this to the back. Okay, then you can just pull it out. Now, when I say support it, why do I say so? If you are going to do it just one hand, okay, let me just show you. Oh, by the way, to slot this back in, right, follow the railings over here. Okay, like this. Just leave some gap at the front. Then push it back. Oops. See, this is what I meant. If you don't support it right, the whole metal piece will drop. Okay, as I mentioned, just push it back in place and to fasten the 2 thumb screw. Now, earlier I mentioned that make sure you support here. If you don't support and use one hand, right, see what happens? See, it will just drop. So you wouldn't want to dent your metal cover. Speaking about the material, it does flex a bit, but not that much. It's still considered very sturdy. Now, also to the fact that this side ventilated areas, right, it does come with a pre-installed dust filter. See, and this will expose the cable managing area. Now at the rear, over my right, tons of ventilator areas, whereby at the top, this is where you mount the 120mm fans or the 140mm fans. As you can see, there are holes allocated. This is 120, this is 140. And as mentioned, plenty of ventilation. So this is actually meant for your rear fan to pull out all the hot air out from the case. Over here you have a cutout for your rear IO, which is meant for your motherboard rear IO. And as I glide, right, it's always something about Montech. They always pay attention to details. I won't get cut. Nicely done. Over here there are a total of 7 expansion slots for your PCIe, and these are ventilated PCIe brackets. And one thing good about this PCIe area, right, you have this cover over here that's locked by this thumb screw. And what this does is, right, when you place your graphic card in, you can lock this in place, and your graphic card will be very sturdy in place. Now I guess there's a reason for this based on the fact that, okay, see, this material, right, it does bend a bit, so this will strengthen when you place the graphic card. Nice thought. Now right at the bottom, this is where the PSU cutout is. Now right at the bottom of the PSU, there is this dust filter. It's magnetic. Instead of the traditional sliding and such, right, you just magnet this to the bottom. It's pretty straightforward. See, this is done. You want to take it out, just take it out, wash it. Very convenient. Now at the top, you have a dust filter too. Okay, the top you can't remove the cover, and I'll show you how it looks like at the top. See, where you have allocation slot for your 120mm fans and your 140mm fans. Then tons of ventilator holes. And over here, right, as you can see, the front IO panel, in fact, is at the top, where you have the power switch, the reset switch, the combo headphone microphone, the microphone jack, the headphone jack, 2 USB 3.0, Type A port, and a Type C port. Taking a closer look at the top front panel, where you have the power switch and the reset switch, these cables are provided. Now for the power switch and the reset switch, you will need to connect this cable over here that says front panel to your motherboard, followed by your microphone and headphone jack. Make use of this, connect to the motherboard. And as for the USB Type A port, this, take note, will only have a transfer rate of 5 gig, and make sure you connect this to the motherboard. And as for the last one, the Type C, connect this to your motherboard. There is sufficient space for you to work with all your PC components in this case. This case is able to cater an ATX motherboard all the way to ITX. Kindly do not mount an eATX motherboard, as it will cover up these 2 cutouts, where the top cutouts is meant for you to pass through your 24-pin cable, which is from your PSU, to be connected to your motherboard. So take note on this. There are a total of 8 cutouts, 2 at the top, 2 at the side, where you have rubber grommets, and 4 at the bottom. Where the 4th one, this is for your GPU cable to pass through. Well planned. Now as for fan arrangement, as mentioned to you before, there are pre-installed fans at the front. There are a total of 3. At the rear, you have 1, which is 120mm 2. All these fans are ARGB. Now back to where I was. For 120mm fans arrangement, at the top, at the front, at the bottom, you'll be able to mount 3 times 120mm fans. At the side, you'll be able to mount 220mm fans. And at the rear, you'll be able to mount 120mm fan. Now, I mentioned that at the bottom you can mount 3 fans, right? But if you're going to mount 3 fans, you're going to block this cutout. You can't use this cutout at all. Unless you sacrifice 1 fan, meaning you say placing only 2 120mm fans, you can use this cutout. Now, for 140mm fans, only the top and the front and the rear. At the top and the front, you'll be able to mount 2 140mm fans, and at the rear, 1 140mm fans. At the bottom, you can't. As for Liquid AIO arrangement, on paper spec, you're only able to cater at the top, which is meant for 120, 140, 240, 280, and 360. Kindly ignore all the components inside this case. For the length limit on GPU, as I measured from the rear PCIe slot to the front, this is at 420mm. I would say on the safe side, do not exceed your graphic card length to 400. Okay, max is 400, not more than that. Give some slack. As for the height, now this is a ASUS TUF 4090, which has a height of 150. Now, having this height, I still have 30mm buffer before it touch the side tempered glass, and this 30mm buffer rate is good enough for you to plug the 12V high power connector and to bend it nicely and to route through here. Now for Aorus Master, if I'm not wrong, it has a height of 160. You still can do it as you have a buffer of 20mm, not a problem. You still can bend. In the event if you can't bend your 12V high power connector properly, right, you will need to get a right angle connector. Now this only applies to 4000 and the 5000 series card, so take note on this. The topic right now is solemnly to answer all the questions regarding about Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 or Arctic Liquid Freezer 3. Okay, as illustrated, what you see right here, I have mounted a 280 at the front. Okay, I can't put a 360. Reason being, right, the gap over here is not tall enough. I mean, it's not wide enough. And also, when I try to angle even a normal 360, right, I can't put it at the front because there's not enough gap for me to plug it in. Same goes to the side. If I do it this way, right, okay, let's say the side, this is the 360, put it aside, and to do it this way, right, I can't. There are no space for me to place a 360 at the front, be it a normal or a Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 or 3. 360 is a no-go. Now back to where I was. As I mentioned to you, this is a 280. You can mount a 240 or 280 at the front, not a problem. Make sure that your card does not exceed 350, and this card just nice. See, there are gap. And I have a method to mount this card. You will need to, plug the rear, angle it, something it, and to sit it and to plug it in. So this is how it's been done. Because I can't just plug it straight directly. You will have no gap at all for you to fit in. So take note on that. Now back to where I was. Having this 280 at the front, right, you need to take note. The hose must be at the top. You can't put it at the bottom, as there are no place for you to route your hose up. So that's the thing. Even you have the gap over here, you'll be very ugly, you see. The hose will be like protruding across your copy card. And I wouldn't advise that. I wouldn't advise that. So having the hose at the top, right, as you look at the fans at the top, there are 220mm fans at the top. I can't mount the third one. Reason being, right, the hose is blocking it. So to counter the space over here, right, what you can do is to mount 240mm fans. See, I can move. There are more than enough space for 240mm fan. At least this gap is not so big. It's still big, but not that big. Same goes to the bottom. As you can see, I told you that I can mount 320mm fans, but right now I can only mount 2. Why? When I place this, let's say the third fan, right, to the front, I can't. I will be hitting the radiator over here, and also the fan also over here. So the only way that I can do is to plug 220mm fans at the front. That's all. Now for Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 and 3 360, As I mentioned, you can't mount at the front, you can mount at the top. Not an issue. 360, alright, not 280. So you can mount it at the top, you will not have any hindrance, you will have more than enough space, even though it's thick, but you just go through. Due to the fact that it is not 140mm wide, it's 120mm, see? So it will go through. And also another thing to take note, if you want to mount at the front, okay, you'll be sacrificing not only the top and the bottom fan, but you'll be sacrificing the side fans. You can't mount at all. And if you to choose push-pull configuration, yes, you can do that. See, the front bezel I've closed nicely. Alright, now this is push-pull configuration. I can mount another set of 140 fans outside, okay, with the bezel covered, which I've shown you, and this is the push-pull configuration. But one thing you need to take note that if you do this right, you're going to destroy the aesthetic, based on the fact that when you place this back, okay, probably I shift this towards the back. See, there's a big hole over here, and this hole over here, right, you might say that okay, I can plug a 120mm fans. No, the dimension, right, it doesn't fit at all. And also to a point whereby below this front bezel, right, you have an arch, so it's arching up. You can't close your front bezel at all. So do take note on this. And you might be thinking, hey, cool, why not I place 3 120mm fans? Okay, since this allocation is different, right, I can plug 320mm fans, then followed by the radiator on the on the outer slot. Yes, you can do that. You can have 3, it looks good, but do note, if you do this right, the interior, the 140mm fans, right, having all the 120 pushing, it might damage your 140mm fan, based on the fact that they are both different RPMs. So do take note on this. Well, I'm not going to show you on the normal 360 and the normal 240, based on the fact that it will definitely fit into the case, be whether you want to place it the 240, okay, no 360 at the front, right, take note, be whether 240 or 280 at the front with the normal thickness, which is 53 or 55, not a problem, you can slot in doing push-pull configuration. And at the top, same thing, you can put 240, 360, 120, not an issue. I will still not encourage you to put 280 at the top. It will definitely hit, and you might not have space to feeder with your 8-pin EPS connector. And also another point is that at the side, well, a lot of you might thought that, hey, why not I plug a 240 at the side? No, you can't, based on the fact that this is protruding in. Alright, there will be a gap between, let's say this is your radiator, there will be a gap in between the tray over here to your radiator, and it doesn't flushes. When you plug a 240 at the side, right, it will not flush to the motherboard, so you can't plug your graphic card. This is the other side where you see the cable management area. I'll start off from the top. Now, as you can see on my left, all these ventilated holes, this is meant for you to mount your 120mm fans at the side. You can't mount it this side, alright? You have to mount it the other side, as there are no space for you to fill any fans over here. There are 2 Velcro strike points where you can tie down the front IO cables, inclusive of the modular cables that is coming from your PSU, so that you can route your 24-pin cables through this rubber grommet. A very big cutout for your motherboard back, which gives good ventilation. This is good. And you have a total of 9 tie down points, 3 at the top, 3 at the side. And for this 3, right, is for you to tie down your 8-pin EPS cable, which is routing through the bottom to the top to reach your motherboard. Nice. And you have a total of 3 at the bottom too. Now this is meant for you to mount your 2.5-inch SSD, but you will need to take this tray out, mainly to remove this thumb screw. Now when you remove this thumb screw, please be careful, do not lose this thumb screw, as it is not captive. So once you remove this tray, right, provided with the SSD screws in the accessory package, place your SSD over here, flip over, and with the screws, right, tighten the SSD to this tray. Once it's done, you can put this back and to fasten with the thumb screw. At the bottom, you have the PSU area and another hard disk section. Starting off with the PSU, you'll be able to mount a full ATX power supply, where this power supply is at a measurement of 160mm in length. If you choose to mount a 220mm in length power supply, it will be up to this black line. Now, you might worry that you do not have space between the hard disk cage and the power supply. Well, you don't have to worry. You can remove off this hard disk cage and to push it up. But before you remove this hard disk cage, you will need to remove 2 thumb screws at the bottom of the case. Once you've done this, right, you can just pull this towards you and to remove the caddy. Now, for this hard disk cage itself, as mentioned, you can move. As you can see, the allocation slot. So you can just move and to put it towards the front. And you will leave plenty of space. As you can see, the 220mm power supply, right? See, there are plenty of gaps or space for you to bend your modular cables or to route your modular cables. For the hard disk cage, at the top, okay, this is actually how it looks like. So at the top, where you can see the 6 holes over here, this is meant for your 3¼ hard disk. Else, for the inner holes, this is meant for your 2.5" SSD. And you can mount this area with a 3.5" hard disk, which you can see the mounting point is over here. See, at the side or both ends. Now, the total storage, in fact, you can either mount 2.5" SSD with 1 3.5" hard disk, or you can have 2 3.5" hard disks with 1 2.5" SSD. Now, there is a minor flaw on this case itself. If you do take a look, right, the bottom fans. Now, if I'm located at the front, right, I can remove all the front fans, as in like the screws, without any issue. But the bottom section where you have these 2 screws, I will need to come to this end to remove these 2 screws. These are all the accessories packed in this package. You'll be provided with an instruction manual, an internal speaker, additional motherboard standoffs, and a mounting tool for the motherboard standoff. And how this works is, on the hexagonal shape, plug the mounting tool to it. Then on the thread side, screw to your motherboard standoff area, and at this end, right, just make use of the Phillips screwdriver and to screw. Once it's done, you can just remove the tool. Nice touch. You have 12 fan screws which are long. These are meant for your bottom fans. 2 additional clips. In the event if you break your side panel clip, you can use this to replace them. 20 motherboard and SSD screws, short ones. 8 PSU screws. 8 3.5" hard disk screws. 2 additional Velcro stripe. Kind of difficult to take out. Total of 10 zip ties. And Montech did listen to us. They have provided you with a small microfiber cloth for your tempered glass, so that you can clean it if they are fingerprint. Nice touch. Now, this is not an illustration on the ARGB effects on the fans and such. It's more of an important tip. Some of you might know, some of you might not know. As you know that no matter how quiet your fans are, or should I say silent, once you mount it to areas with all these vent holes, you will tend to make noise. And now I'm just going to share with you how I reduce the noise. Looking at these three fans, these are the RX 120 from Montech. Okay, it's the reverse fan blade. My microphone is over here, and these fans are not turned on. I will now turn on by one plug, and you'll listen to the noise. And this is how it sounds like without any modification. I just mount them. As you can see, it stays touched to the base of the bottom. And again, as I mentioned, with all these ventilated holes at the bottom. And this is how it sounds like. Now that is how it sounds like without any modification. Now I'm just going to modify and to show you how it sounds like. Now this is right after some modification. As you can see, the fans are not touching on the mesh grill at the bottom, or should I say mesh ventilation hole. So I leave it up, and how I do it, in fact, I buy this washer over here. See? And best part is that for this RX or AX 120 fans, right, they have this rubber cap which is circular. So I can just simply plug two of this washer into this and back to the cap so that it will lift up. See? As you can see, there's a gap. Alright, right now I'm just going to share with you the noise. As mentioned to you, microphone is here, and I just plug, and this is how it sounds like after the modification. Now I'll share with you both simultaneous, about 5 seconds without modification and 5 seconds with modification. Then you will be able to hear the difference between the modification and non-modification. Alright, you have witnessed the sound test whereby I show you that when you leave it up, right, it's much quieter. It's the same concept as you whistle. When your lip is of a small hole, right, when you blow air through it, it will give you a sharp pitch when you blow through it. And if you were to widen up your lip, you can't even whistle, you just, gush of air. Same apply when you apply the fan on this grill over here or at the side. So having it close, you are actually sucking through all the holes over here, causing a higher pitch, higher noise. So if you leave it up, right, giving it some gap, right, you will not be having so much concentration on sucking the air through the grills, or should I say the holes. That's the reason why it reduces noise. Now come to the ARGB. These fans are fantastic. Take a look. It's very vibrant. And this is how it looks like at the front. See, it's very nice. And as for the airflow, right, okay, take a look. Tons of air going in at every channel. Now what are my thoughts about this case? The MSRP is at $80 USD, which is a good deal based on the fact that all the functions and features, right, they are there. Things like the side fan, the bottom fans to cool your GPU, bring more air, be it the side or the front, to the GPU area and to the motherboard area, and ample space for the top. Just that you need to take note, do not mount any 280 at the top. And as mentioned, right, the configuration that I've actually shown you, right, you can do that with the front radiator mounted in front. But I would strongly suggest you to follow what Montech actually mentioned. Do not place any liquid AIO at the front, because the way they have designed the airflow, right, is basically this 3-channel over here. This is to cool your GPU, and all this, right, is to bring in more air in to sweep off all the hot air to the top. And having sufficient air, as I show you, having the the cool air does channel to your motherboard area and exhaust to the back area. And with this say, right, there are ample of air. If you're mounting a 360 liquid AIO at the top, it will just draw the cool air and to blow out. So this will keep your processor and your GPU cool. This is one thing. And as mentioned to you for air cooler, right, if you are to place just one fan at the rear, okay, at the top rear, that will be more than enough, because you want the air from the side and the front, right, to pull all the cool air to your the air cooler. Now besides this, right, attention to details, which I like. Okay, I won't get cut when I draw my lines along the cutouts. And a very nice thought on this GPU bracket, nice touch. Now also the bracket at the back where it locks. Okay, though I mentioned that, okay, based on the fact that the MSRP is 80 USD, so there might be some areas whereby it's seeing is okay, not really flimsy, but it still can flex. So with this say, right, they have even deliberately done the bracket for you to firmly grip the GPU. See, this is actually quite flimsy. This is quite flimsy, but with this enhancement, you will hold your GPU in place. The distribution on the ARGB fans, fantastic. The airflow, very strong. With this said, is this recommended? Well, I would say that yes, this is a very humble case. If you do not want to break your bank and such, right, with the $80 USD, right, it's hard to beat. And there are tons of airflow in this case. I hope you have enjoyed what I've shared with you, just like the way that I walked through with you. Now, do leave a comment telling me which case color would you prefer. Do you prefer the black or the white? For me personally, I would take the black, based on the fact that the aesthetic of it. Take a look, the fans are popping up, the wood accent at the top, at the bottom, it's popping out. It does leave up the elegance of the case itself. With this said, I'd like to thank Montech to have provided both color cases for me to share with everyone. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to hit on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.